Hello everybody, it's Chaz in Omaha. Welcome to another build video. This time we have the Apogee Beastmaster with squirrels. First we're going to go ahead and just go through like the general gameplay. So you summon your tree guy, you summon your army of squirrels, you proc your swipe while your pets beat the crap out of stuff, you Warcry to keep the buff up on your pets, and then you throw 10 Frenzy Totem down and immediately howl and use the rejuvenating wind on your Spriggan. That's pretty much all you do. You want to use both the Warcry and the Frenzy Totem basically on cooldown and immediately howl. And, you know, the Spriggan wind thing, you don't have to use it immediately, but it's generally a good idea. Now, the last thing that's interesting about the play pattern on this is there's a new experimental affix that summons zombies when you summon a potion. And you want to use the potion belt thing to trigger the effect on the Apogee at the bottom that gives you a 24% more damage multiplier. So you'll like start a boss fight, right? And you'll just use a potion and it summons some zombies, right? And then you walk up to them like normal, and then when they explode, you see the buff down there that I have on myself, and it goes on all your pets. And then you just kind of use your health potions to refresh that throughout the boss fight. Yeah? So as far as the strengths on this build goes, number one, it's probably the highest boss DPS of any build I've ever played. Fights like Oribus and pretty much every boss that isn't Legon or the dragon dies almost instantaneously. Not instantaneously, but it dies in like 3 seconds. It's actually ridiculous. You Warcry, you drop this on their head, you got your zombies, and look at the numbers. Like, I mean, I can't even tell how much damage they're doing, right? Like, you can't even tell. It's a lot, right? You don't know what it is. You don't know what it is, but it's a lot. Another good strength of this build is that mana doesn't like matter at all. You basically ignore your mana completely until like as soon as you get a mana regen tier 3 or higher on like your belt or a ring, you just like stop it. You just ignore mana. It's really nice. The squirrels are hilarious to watch. When you get like a frenzy, like the haste shrine or other effects on them, or you Warcry or they howl, like they become like these demon squirrels. It's actually just hilarious. I love it. And then trash clear in general is pretty low effort. A lot of times like you don't even get to help. The squirrels just like jump at them and just like nuke the crap out of them before you can even do anything. As far as the weaknesses go, it's pretty slow. I have really good movement speed boots, and this is about as fast as you're ever going to go. It doesn't have Fury Leap, so that's kind of, you know, that's a big weakness. The Frenzy Totem thing takes some getting used to. It takes some getting used to like smash 3 buttons in quick succession like that, right? Like, but once you get used to it, it's not so bad. Oftentimes your squirrels kill things so fast that you can't maintain your swipe buff, which your swipe also triggers aspect of the shark and stuff. That's not really a huge issue, except it does limit your survivability a little bit. Pet AI is terrible. Pet AI is terrible, but it's not like a huge problem, but it is a small problem. And then the last weakness of this build that's really specific is the boss at the end of the Reign of Dragon's Echo Web is actual cancer with this build. You can push him, your squirrels push him into a corner, then they'll stand in the blood. You gotta manually tell them to run out of the explosion as you're doing it. That boss is the worst. Okay, next we can go ahead and go over the skills for the build. I'm gonna go ahead and make suggestions about order of leveling while we go over the skills, just to, I don't know, save some time and give context. So we start with Doggo. You get him right at the beginning of the game. You wanna first take this top path over through to getting +1 dog. You'll swap out of this point to the bottom thing right around the time you put your Apogee swords on and you get a bajillion points. These defensive things for your dogs for the most of the game, like the beginning, before you're in empowered, aren't really that relevant. So you just want to take the shorter path and just go up here at the beginning. Then you're going to go into Ice Bite. Now, Ice Bite here is really, really powerful, and it synergizes really well with the Apogee effects. And this is why you'll see like random giga numbers coming from your squirrels. So you do the Ice Bite. Then you want to go and start maxing out Legendary Bite. Then you're going to want to get 4 into On the Hunt. And then you can either put points into Savage Hunters or Howl of Might. It doesn't really matter that much at this point. Overall, this one is like stronger all the time, but if you're really diligent about the Frenzy Howl thing, then this point is stronger. So at that point, it doesn't really matter. You do whatever you want to max out the dogs. All right, so next we have Swipe. For Swipe, you go right into Aspect into the Feline Hunter, so you get the attack speed. And then you want to get like 1 or 2 points into here in the Sabertooth's Endurance. And then what you kind of want to do is just like kind of flip-flop between these two. So that, because they kind of buff each other, right? And as soon as you get like 2 points in this and a few points in here, you're going to be kind of invincible while leveling, because you're going to have like a gajillion HP regen from this effect, right? You can kind of decide to put points into Wild Calling at basically at any point while you're filling this in. It's sort of just basically defense versus offense. That's really all it is. So, you know, you can make a decision there. And then eventually you're going to want to put these 2 points in once you're done with all this stuff to get your stack cap up and a little bit more flat damage. And then finally you go over here. Now there's some debate here about this skill being higher or this skill being higher. This is good for like bosses, but this build kills bosses so fast that it doesn't see as much value. I find that the area here has more value just so it's easier to keep up this health regen buff for survivability. The next thing would be Warcry. Warcry is kind of weird because you can kind of do this in different orders and it doesn't really matter that much. So when you start, you'd either want to go through to this path to get this crit chance bonus, or you can go right into this healing and heal your pet thing. Don't do this path first, because right at the beginning of the game, you're really not going to have the mana to sustain doing this twice as often. Once you've picked one of these two, you can kind of do these paths in any order you feel like. And then once you're done with the 3 paths, then you do this last. I think this has the least value per point, so I would do this one last. All right, next we have Frenzy Totem. You definitely start right here with Grounded. This point is Omega. It makes it cost like no mana. It's a massive flat damage scaling. This point's insane. Then you kind of have a choice between offense up here and some defense down here. That's just your choice. You can just do it however you want. It doesn't really matter. I would not put a point into this Furious Cry reset thing until you have tier 3 or greater mana regen on at least one item, because you won't be able to sustain it otherwise. This point is interesting because of the amount of crit chance that's actually required to get your pet to 100% crit. This point will be variable, how many you need on it, based on like your idle configuration. Yeah, mostly just your idle configuration and how much coverage you want for crit avoidance affixes. And last we have Spriggan. This guy is pretty much just for this node. He gives all your pets 8% base crit, and he gives you and all your pets 72% crit avoidance. This is how we get both us and the pets to crit immune. It's pretty good. So you just beeline to this. Then you start filling in this healing stuff, which works on both you and the pets. At some point, you can put 1 point in here when you feel like getting dodge rating. It's not really that important. It's just another portion of mitigation. It's kind of minor. And then you want to put 1 point into this Branches of Winter right before you can equip your Apogees, because this doesn't actually do anything until you can equip Apogees. This will make him cold, which will then make him, you know, have a ton more points. Now we can go ahead and take a look at the gear. First off, we have the dog neck. Now, there are 2 versions of this neck. There's a low-level one you can wear at like level 7, I think. And then there's this version, which is level 58. If you have this neck, it's actually insane. If you don't have this neck, you're gonna need a point in here at some point. which kind of sucks because it's kind of a pain in the butt to get over here with optimal damage path. I suppose what you would probably do is, instead of like filling these out, you would need to fill this out earlier and then go over here to get this if you don't have one of those necks. So next we have the Apogee. This weapon was the whole reason I wanted to try this build. And these weapons are actually insane. Mostly because you get +3 to minion skills per sword. So you get +6 to your squirrels and your Spriggan from dual wielding these swords. They're pretty insane. The reason why Warcry is so important on this build also actually has to do with these swords. So like the minions dealing more cold damage to chilled enemies and the bottom thing, they both depend on the enemies having chill. And the only consistent way for chill is Warcry right here. You can waste points and get some unreliable chill here, but I think that this Warcry chill is just the ticket, yeah? Okay, last we have the Squirrel Helm. Quick note, try and pronounce the new name of an ability that Hal's replaced by. Good luck, let me know how that goes for you. This helm is really not necessary, but the amount of damage that it increases you by is really, really, really noticeable when you put it on. Like, you double the amount of wolves, but they are 45% weaker than wolves, so that's like not so important. What's really good about this mostly is that they shred physical resistance because of this helm, which is like huge. And then of course +1 to 3 summon wolf doesn't hurt anything, right? So put this on if you have it. If you don't have it, this build will still work. You just will have 4 dogs instead of 8 squirrels, yeah? If you like being a lot more defensive. If you have +3 to summon wolf in this helm, or you have an LP one with plus the summon wolf somehow, I think this build would be a lot better with a shield. There are points that are pretty easy to remove, which are these and one here, that will allow you to wear a shield. And this build's damage is so high that if you actually have that much plus to summon wolf, I would recommend going for just a good shield. That's a super endgame option. You really, really, really want this experimental affix on your belt if you can. Just because it like is really insane on bosses. You don't need it. You don't need it. These swords are still good even if you can't do this, but just something to look out for while you're leveling. A minor note on the boots and gloves. I highly recommend you get flat health regen on both slots. You can get up to quite a good amount of health regen when you're in your frenzy totem and you're swiping, right? I'm at 388. And I have tier 4 and tier 5, right? So that is a lot of defensiveness if you just get flat health regen in these. Normally you would just do double health, but I highly suggest getting health regen flat instead on both of these. For the idols, I think minion melee attack speed is just by far the best. It's just the best. And then for these, you probably need 2 of these so that you and your pets can be crit avoidance without you having to use a blessing or something. For the prefix on these ones, you can either use healing effectiveness on you or healing effectiveness for the minions. They're both good. If it's on you, then it just makes your Warcry heal a lot more for you and your pet. And if it's on the minions, then his healing aura heals for a lot more, right? So it kind of doesn't really matter at all which one you get, I don't think. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and go over the passives, and I'll try and make notes about things that you need to swap, when you need to switch to the Druid tree, and like a general order to do things just to make your life easier. At the very beginning of the game, don't go into this attunement thing. This is really useless at the beginning, and this does a lot for you. So go ahead and fill this in at the beginning, and then like get your dual wield if you want to dual wield early. You know, that's kind of up to you. It doesn't really matter. And then put 1 point in here just to push it forward, or you can put 1 point in here to push it forward, or 1 point in here to push it forward. It doesn't really matter. And then you want to go to survival of the pack at the beginning, because this is really good. You don't really need it at the end, but at the beginning, this helps you stay alive a lot, right? And then you do this no matter what, because this health thing is just really good either way. And then you want to stop at 20. Don't do Berserker at the beginning. It's not worth it, I don't think. So then you get into your Beastmaster tree. You definitely fill in Ursine Strength 8 out of 8 first. Then you can go ahead and go into Aspect of the Boar, 4 out of 5. After you get 4 out of 5 in here, you just kind of need to fill these 3 points in, 1 apiece, just to move forward. And at this point, this Lamprey Teeth, you technically could spec out of the Leech in the base tree if you wanted to at that point, but, you know, you just do it whenever you feel like it. So that'll fill in your requirements, and you go ahead and go to Porcine Constitution, put 4 out of 5 in here, and then put 1 in Rending Maw, just so that it like moves it forward so you're ready for this one. Then go ahead and put 4 out of 5 into Boarheart here. At the point that you put 4 out of 5 Boarheart, you're going to start feeling really, really tanky, because your swipe is going to maintain this buff on you. Plus you're going to have all the health regen if you've been keeping flat health regen on boots and gloves. You'll be pretty much indestructible at that point, or you'll feel that way. Then go ahead and put 1 into the Hunters of the Deep so that your Aspect of the Shark starts applying to your pets. It's at this point that your pets are probably going to start clobbering everything, because with your pets get Aspect of the Shark, it is very noticeable. So at this point, you're going to want to start thinking about going to the Druid tree. I don't remember exactly at what level you need to go to the Druid tree, but the goal is to get 15 points into the Druid tree so you have access to Spriggan before you're right at level 50. That's the goal. If you're off by a couple levels, either way, it doesn't really matter. But when you first get Spriggan and you go ahead and put points into his flat crit aura, you're going to notice. Your pets are going to start doing a lot more damage, and so are you. So with that in mind, when you get back to the Beastmaster tree, go ahead and do 4 out of 5 in the Axe and Claw. This is also going to be a crap ton of damage because of all the flat. And then you put 1 into Circle of Life just to prep and move your thing forward. At this point, you're going to be able to start going into the links. Go ahead and put 5 into links, even though we'll have 6 later. That way you can get your extra companion here from Nature's Embrace. Then go back to Rending Maw and get it up to 3 out of 5. 2 out of 8 points into Ocean Maw. We'll eventually get 5 because that allows this to have 100% chance to shred armor for every squirrel attack, which is kind of the goal. After you have 2 out of 8 Ocean Maw, you're going to want to jump up to the Serrated Claws and just max it out, because this node is actually busted, especially if you're really, really diligent with doing the Frenzy Howl combo that allows the links to be 100% uptime, yeah? Once you have this maxed out, I would go back to the base tree to get Berserker. Because right around this time, you're going to start wanting this for safety, and your damage is going to be super, super high once this is maxed out, so defense will be better at that point. And then after that, you can kind of just fill in the rest of this stuff however you want. You want to get this to 5 out of 8, just so that you have 100% here. As far as Viper Fangs and Ancient Might and finishing this and finishing Boarheart, it's kind of just up to you. It's kind of a wash, to be honest, the remaining points. So, yeah, that's it for the passive. And next we're going to go ahead and show you some clips of playing in various Echo maps so you can see what it's actually like to play. Thanks, everybody. Take your word for it. That sounds like something that would happen. Haste Shrine. Zoom, zoom. We will summon a zombie. Or 3. I was running through in my head, like, what to talk about for each skill on this build, and it occurred to me that there are a monstrous number of interactions occurring for this build to be as powerful as it is. There are so many interactions between the skills and the passives. It's kind of crazy. I don't think any other build I've played has this many. Ninja. Ninjas don't fare well against squirrels. You saw it here first. You believe so? Are you talking about the thing I was talking about? Like, with the new factions and stuff, giving you incentive to play one character? Or to grind one character, I guess? At least grind a single character more. That's good. That would make me really happy. What do you do with your characters? Like, what... Do you do something similar to me, or do you just, like, keep trying to kit out one character? I pretty much just get my... empowered blessings, and that's it. That's my goal. If the character can pretty easily get empowered blessings with, like, you know, you generally end up getting at least one of the webs up to like 200 corruption or something while doing this, because, you know, you run into the one I'm doing right now where you can't seem to get the blessing you want, right? Here we go again. This one's gonna be harder than last time. Dude, I hate you so much. Run! Everybody run away! Get him, zombies. Oh, the blood is everywhere.